This is, I suppose, episode 1 of a new adventure. Um, this is a game that we record on a Friday, which is one that will go to our patrons first. Who'll get this a couple of weeks before this makes its way to YouTube. Um, and this one is called The Frontier. We have a pair of adventurers who are, at present, fleeing from a menace that has disturbed one of their homes, and the other has been picked up by the fleeing people in a roundabout kind of way. And they're all currently fleeing to the largest walled city that's habited nearby, that isn't on the other side of this oncoming threat. Um, this, I call it tribe of people. This herd of centaur are migrating eastward and southward toward the capital city of the new nation, or the rebuilding nation of Ustras. They are accompanied by a single furbolg who has been spilt forth from the Fae for an unknown reason. But they're here, so they were offered safe passage with the centaurs. Who knew? So, our players in this wonderful campaign are Claire. That's where you say hello. There you go. And Astrid.
That's me. Hi.
Okay. So, Claire, who and what are you playing today?
I am playing Roth Hammerfall, a centaur paladin to the mother bear.
Perfect.
Except he doesn't know he's a paladin. He thinks he's just a really good fighter.
Okay, fair enough. Astrid, who and what are you playing today?
I am playing Flurry, the Frobolg monk, who's also very good at fighting, but with his hands mostly.
Nice. So you two have essentially become quite close friends in the time you've been traveling, and both of you are more martially skilled than a number of the other centaur. This herd is primarily, well, they have faced threats as they've been traveling through the forests. These people are not primarily fighters. They have been at peace, roaming and enjoying the fruits of nature and being one in the wilds, relatively undisturbed in the east of what was known as South Sage. However, with events that have unfolded in the world, a unwashed tide of gnolls, led by their savage lord, has built forth from the abyss. This herd of centaur made their way eastward through the vast forests of South Sage, and then out into the plains in further north in the foothills of the mountains, preparing to loop south to follow one of the great rivers past ruins of former cities of this region. The country known as Ustras is being built out of the ruined foundations of a former country that was brought to the cusp of extinction by a cataclysmic event about 250 years previously, in what was known as the Dragon Queen War, or if you're one of the brave that dare say the name, the Tiamat War. And so we join the herd along with this unknowing paladin and our Furbolg monk, just as the herd have emerged from the forests, and to their south they can see what looks to be a ruined city, and splayed out ahead of them is vast open plains. It's relatively early in the day, but again, you are merely weeks away from your destination now, at most. And at the speed you've been going, it will take you a lot longer, but now you're in open plains, which is quite often the friend of the centaur, the open plain with good lines of sight.
Well, at least we can see this time.
There's not a lot of trees here.
No.
Are you sure it's safe?
I mean, just points back in the direction they've been traveling. Is anywhere?
Good point. I suppose we go on.
Yeah. It's, if old stories are true, it's a few weeks. Travel.
That
Hello.
is okay. Better than staying, yes?
Oh, anything's better than standing still.
Exactly.
Race you?
That is... Sure. Race you.
I guess we run.
You run. Okay.
The monk clearly wins this race every
So
time.
you have not
Yeah.
you have not ascertained what you're racing to, simply that you are going to race.
Yes.
So you both head off at full tilt. Several of them, and most of the herd, you hear this resigned sighing as a number of the rest of the herd just decide to match your exuberance, and the majority of the herd then begins moving at full tilt, putting distance between the forest that you are leaving and themselves. At least in this way, now nothing can sneak up on you. How long do you race for?
Oh, I don't race very long because I only have 2 legs to run on. So this isn't going to end well for me at all. It's just like, let's say a 30-second sort of burst and then everybody overtakes me and I just stop.
You 30 seconds of running, you are significantly further ahead than a lot of these creatures. The centaurs, you might be a sprinter, but when you put your foot down, dear God, do you go.
Mm-hmm.
You stop after your 30 seconds of running, you look back, and your compatriot is only about halfway for the distance you've covered.
I'm no slouch.
That's a monk using their full movement speed. Plus dash.
Yeah, alright.
You ain't catching up, are you?
I get 80 foot around.
How far does the monk move per round?
Quite a bit, I think. See, I've got 40 base speed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, can I double it?
You can
Yeah.
dash
Well, you can move action and then dash, I think, as well.
as a key point,
Yeah.
which is step of the wind. But yeah, that's.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, how far do you go? What's your base movement speed?
40.
So you guys actually stay pretty neck and neck unless the monk chooses to use key points to move much faster.
I don't think so.
So the two of you are essentially, you hurtle ahead, and as you come to a stop after 30 seconds, the rest of the herd is like trying to keep up. They're not sprinters, and you guys have just demonstrated the fact you move significantly faster than them when you really want to.
Yeah, I don't think he would go too far because he'd want to keep. You see, my on that herd.
There's like the number of centaur here. It's clearly a whole herd. You haven't lost anyone other than the elderly who are already going to perish have passed, as this has been quite a long journey. You still have weeks of travel to go. What you can see as you look out now that you've put some space between you and the forest is you realize you've come up onto a hill in these plains, and you can see that not quite as flat as perhaps you'd originally envisioned. It is slightly hilly, to the point where now that you're to the top of this hill, you can see there is a ruined city to almost your direct south, and what looks to be a body of water glistening out behind it.
Would I know, like from stories past, recognize which city that would have been?
Nope. You are nowhere near old enough.
I mean, but the elders would have told stories.
Yep, and they didn't care for the cities built. They are people of nature.
Fair.
All you know is that is probably not the walled city you're looking for.
Yeah, it doesn't look right. Shrugs.
So, would you like to continue? Because there's quite a lot of travel here because of the path that they'd have to take. Would you guys like to do this in a fast travel sort of sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Get to people.
get to people. Okie dokie. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put initiative order up, and that can be removed because that's from a very long time ago. That's going to get cut. So if you both wouldn't mind rolling initiative for me, it means we can determine who's going first in our little.
That is a very respectable 11 for Roth.
Fair. So, what I'm going to do is do you guys want to do this by? So I was going to say, do you guys want to have one roll each per day, or do we want to do this by like each one of you roll per week?
Should we do it per week?
Yeah,
Okay.
seems fine.
One roll each per week.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be essentially amount to about 4 rolls. Okay, so Hammerfall, since you are first, would you like to describe a problem or an issue that arises, and then how you would solve it using one of your skills?
Okay. I think as they go past the first ruined city, there's probably a little bit of discord within the herd. Some of them are talking about breaking off and going down towards the city there to seeing what they can find. And Roth will kind of turn with each one and talk with each one in turn. He's quite well respected within the herd, and work on persuading them to continue on with the journey. He knows it's been long, but wants them to continue.
Okay, persuasion. I'm assuming is what you're looking for.
Yep. That is a 17 persuasion.
Great. So it's been a bit of time convincing. As this happens over several days, a few different people have the same idea. You have to explain and persuade multiple people over multiple days, but they choose to remain part of the central herd.
Yeah.
All of you moving together, acknowledging the safety in numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, which takes us on to Flurry.
Right.
Astrid, I would also iterate that you don't want to repeat skills that have previously been used, as this will increase the DC.
Yeah. Let's see, what could we do? Since we're traveling on plains, right?
Like slightly hilly plains, but yes.
Yeah, slightly hilly plains. I'd like to try and find a good fresh water source so everybody can stay healthy.
Okay, what
Drink
skill are you
enough.
looking for?
I guess that would be survival
Okay.
or nature.
Either one, you choose.
I'll do survival.
You're going around.
So
You
six.
think you've found a nice little spring that bubbles up.
Mhm.
You go to drink from one of the centaurs. Like they bring their hoof up and just smack your hand away from it, and they point the fact that the water goes this horrible green a little bit further down, indicating there's probably something wrong with it.
Mm.
They shake their head wordlessly, indicating that this is probably not the best water source. And you notice you try this for multiple days that unfortunately the amount of water that's being produced from these little springs, there's clearly something wrong with it. Like there's something wrong in the ground with it.
Yeah.
It's just not good drinking water.
Mm.
Okay. My turn to roll. Okay. So the first week or so, you're making good time across these hilly plains. It's not difficult going. You can see where there's going to be issues, where there's going to be traps. You both, however, have a really unsettled feeling as you push into like your sixth day on these plains. Like you're pushing the herd a little harder, but you can't help that feeling in your pit of your stomach that you need to go faster. You don't want to stop here. Like every night you stop to rest is unsettling. Like you don't quite sleep very well. You can both roll me perception checks.
11.
Okay, on an 11, you just have a really unsettled feeling about this. On a 9, you also just feel unsettled by this place. These plains are too quiet.
There should be animals. There are
Yeah.
not.
Oh, to you, Astrid, sorry. Okay. Yep, fair. You also come to the realization, based on the little information you do recall, is that as you're heading in this direction, you have to make a choice very soon as to whether or not you head further east and take the what is potentially a damaged bridge near another major ruined city that sits on the river itself, or whether or not you tuck in further west, heading west due south, and take a bridge that's lesser used, but equally would have been lesser maintained over time, so would not have had such heavy investment in the first place, as it's not on a particularly well-beaten path. It was more convenient for the local villagers rather than for major transport routes.
I think maybe by the city. He looks to kind of Flurry and I guess the elders that would be around when they're having this discussion. At the very least, we could give them a city a once over from afar. Might be useful for our new hosts.
One of the elders, a brackish, brooding, large older male, sort of grunts as he's just giving the city once over, that we will not set foot inside any more walled stone places than we have to.
I wasn't suggesting go in, just as we're walking by, look to the left.
They consider, and the other elders sort of nod as you've not led them astray so far.
The bridge is likely better condition anyway, and some of our elders might have less trouble with it.
The eldest of the elders that has survived
He was trying to be very tactful as he said this.
squints at you.
And the youngers might be able to jump the gaps, he says very quickly afterwards.
The eldest of the elders, who are grey-haired and increasingly grey-furred individual, are just looking at you. You get the impression you may have almost offended them.
Mm-hmm. Be safer.
Okay, so at the beginning of this second week, Hammerfall, the city is coming into view. This second city.
Mm-hmm. I think he would kind of wait till we got to kind of the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing some decidedly dicey spots on it,
Mm-hmm.
would offer to go first, and to take some of the additional load from perhaps some of those less able.
Okay.
And in his very focused piece, he'd like to make his way across the bridge. As he gets to kind of an area where he has to jump and he's got a little bit of a heavier load than he would normally have, he takes a second before he does. I would like to activate my Channel Divinity Peerless Athlete.
Okay.
And jump a large gap from the
Okay.
bridge.
What I'm hearing is you'd like to do athletics check.
At advantage, please.
Okay.
That is a 23.
Despite the heavier load, you make the jump. Clatter of hooves on the other side as you hear the resounding crack of ancient stonework left unattended.
I keep moving very quickly.
You note this bridge. There's that gap. If anyone else comes across that heavily loaded, they're probably going to struggle, or that stone is going to start giving.
I wouldn't imagine they would. I would imagine he's taken what he could.
Mm-hmm. But that's not the only large load to bring over this bridge. Like, some of the centaurs are significantly heavier than you.
Fat?
No, I'm calling some of the other centaurs quite large and heavy. These are not small creatures you're traveling with.
He will probably shout back that is dangerous.
The response you get is essentially, it's this bridge or the other one.
I mean, we're here, so...
Yeah. The other one is now several days' travel away. For them, for you, and now on the other side of the bridge, it would take you even longer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Several of the other centaurs do make the jump. One of the older ones makes the leap, and you hear the resounding this crack and the slight give of the stonework as they land. They stagger slightly as if they haven't jumped like that in quite a long time. Several of the younger ones make the leap, and a few of them skitter as they hit the ground on the far side. Flurry, you watch as a particularly not athletic-looking individual makes the jump and lands it really unevenly, and they end up sort of rolling awkwardly. And as they bounce on the other side, the rock work, the stone work, this finally begins to give. They just scramble up the other side as the main landing area that they've been using crumples and just falls into the river below, leaving you with a slightly larger gap to cross.
Is it just me, or are there any other centaurs as well?
There's a couple others still here. Between the two of you, you've now got to figure out a way to get these other guys across, and one of you.
Mm-hmm.
There are other portions to this bridge, but they're looking decidedly decidedly more dicey than the way you just were jumping.
Yeah. I'm not that worried about me jumping across, but mostly them.
There are parts of the bridge we could rip up.
Potentially, but you don't know what that'll do to the structural integrity of the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
This is an old stone bridge that's just been left here and has been unattended, unmaintained for like 200 odd years. It's surprising, given the ferocity of the river below, this bridge is even still here.
The frost.
Pardon?
Did you say frost?
No. It's a surprise that this bridge, given the ferocity
of
the river below, it's a surprise this bridge is even still here.
So going through the river is probably not an option then.
Not unless you want to end up significantly downstream and potentially in the main river that heads out to the ocean.
Nah, I'd rather not.
I mean, that would save us time.
Potentially, but how good are centaurs at swimming?
haven't asked them.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not good enough to survive a several 100-mile swim.
No, probably not.
I mean, I'll tell the other centaurs, I can take some of their load, like things they're carrying.
They begin offloading like the pack, some of the packs they're carrying, stuff
Yeah.
they know you can pick up and not be overburdened by.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any trees?
No,
Just checking. There
it's
might have
just
been the odd one.
rolling plains. You can see a quarry in the distance, but no trees.
Hmm.
Like the ruined city nearby is made entirely from stone. So getting pushed and given it's a city in the middle of the plains, they've used the ground, like the stone work in the ground to build the city up. They haven't actually had wood to build with.
Yeah.
Can I dump my stuff on the ground?
Drop all your stuff
for
on
the
the
other
floor.
centaurs
Yeah.
and make my way back to the other side of that bridge.
Mm-hmm. What? Do you want to jump?
No. I want to catch anyone who doesn't make the jump.
All right, yeah, so you walk back up to where the rubble is crumpled from.
Mhm.
You know, catching a full-size centaur with your arms as a centaur is probably not possibly the safest course of action.
Mm-hmm.
However, there doesn't appear to be much in the way of alternatives.
Yeah, it's mostly a confidence thing, right? If they know there's somebody there to catch them.
They might well make the jump.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I still have this athlete up.
Mm-hmm. As a number of them have discarded a lot of their pack to provide to Flurry, one of the braver sort of young male centaurs just bolts and tries to jump. Their front legs make it over the lip, and their arms, like as they slide backwards, dig into the stonework to pull themselves up. Clearly, it's uncomfortable, but they get their hindquarters back up over the side and scramble up.
I'd give them a bit of help.
They wave you off, saying that they're fine.
Mm-hmm.
With that boost of confidence, a number of the remainder just all go, like one at a time. Until the only one that's left on the side with Flurry is what looks to be a little better than a foal, like a very young centaur.
I try to talk it up. You can
It's
do
looking
this.
at you and just like shaking its head, like looking at the water and shaking its head, like no, can't do it.
Okay, what if we do it together?
Their eyes go wide. Oh, okay.
Yep. Okay. So I'm going to count to 3. And we're going to run.
Their
right?
hand comes out to hold your hand.
Okay. Yep. I hold their hand.
They're looking at you with wide eyes, like they generally don't believe they could do this, but they're going to trust you.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, and I start running.
They run with you, keeping up surprisingly well.
Mm-hmm.
Do you jump?
And yeah.
Okay. You and the little centaur make the jump, and you get like halfway over. You're like, "Oh, we're gonna make it." Then you see the centaur start to just slip slightly lower than you, and you're like, "Oh, this might be bad." Do you shout at Hammerfall?
Yeah.
I'm going to help try and catch them.
Okay. So Hammerfall and Flurry, you can both give me either athletics or acrobatics.
I'm still at advantage.
Good for you.
It's 25.
Ooh.
Okay, so the little centaur is like grabbed around the middle of like the human part at the top by Hammerfall, and as you go to land, Flurry, your feet and just the balls of your feet just miss, and you're like stood on your tippy toes on the very edge for a second, like oh crap, go like a little wobbling backward and forward, and as Hammerfall pulls the little centaur round, the centaur like leans its legs out as it's being swung round, and it smacks you in the side to push you over with as it's being turned. So with the momentum, you fall graciously to the floor, but you've made the jump.
See, I told you could do it.
The little centaur hugs both of you and then trots off after its mother.
Oh yeah, mess with its mane and let it go.
And the packs of stuff are still on the other side.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Yep.
Actually, no, that's not how this is going to work. You guys can, because rock paper scissors is not gonna work properly when played over a video conferencing software. Let's be real. Okay, you can both type your choices into the Roll20 chat, and on 3, you reveal them. We'll do this way, and I will judge. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So when I say 3, you do it. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Oh, Flurry wins. Flurry, are you going, or are you going to make Roth go?
Wait, Roth wins.
Yeah, Roth wins.
Oh, Roth wins. Yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
Roth wins. Are you going to go, or are you going to make the monk go?
I think Roth would go. I don't.
Hey, Roth, I need some more athletics checks from you. 1 per jump.
Still at advantage.
How long does your pith?
It lasts for 10 minutes.
Okay, you make that jump with a natural 20.
Yes.
You pick up 2 of the packs because you can carry more than Flurry can per jump.
I can carry double right now.
Yes, you take 2 packs.
Okay, I'll come back.
Okay, roll me another one. 23, you make the jump. You land it easily, you just toss the packs at Flurry.
How many packs are left?
2 more.
He goes back. 22.
You make it. You pick up the packs.
Grabs the last 2. Comes back. So 24.
You make it.
He's just making it look easy at this point.
Yeah.
I want someone in the herd goes, dressage.
Form is important. Is all Roth says.
So the owners of the various packs come and collect them once you're on the other side of the bridge and away.
I grab up my packs. What would we have seen of the city as we're here? Because I presume by the end of this
you just see ruined stone walls and stone that might once have been like the pale white that you can see poking out from the quarry, but instead it is, even to this day, is singed black. If you want to look at the city in detail now that you're on the other side of the river from it, because you can see sort of the port area, like the harbour, you can roll me perception checks.
17.
22.
On 17, you see that there's a number of the buildings still stand, though what may once have been like the piers have all collapsed into the water, or the stone sort of battered remnants that are slowly eroding away with peak over the top still. The stone buildings, what still stands, are still building shaped, but the stonework appears to be warped as if cooked under extreme heat. Flowing on a natural 20, you see all this, and then just in the corner of your eye, you swear you see a couple of things just move slightly. Like something's there one blink and it isn't the next.
Big or small?
It's difficult to put that into context given how far away you are.
Right.
You just know something there is moving. Something big enough at this distance, very much at the other side of like a wide river away.
Mm-hmm.
You can just see things just moving, like almost like you're seeing like the reflection of candlelight. Like that sort of flickering movement that you can't quite pin down where the source would be. You have the distinct impression you're being watched.
I believe this city is not empty.
Good. Well, it's the other side of the river at least. I don't think the others want to go too far tonight before they rest.
Yeah. We should be cautious. If they jump as easily across the river as you do.
I don't think anyone jumps across that river as easy as I do. He grins, clearly having a laugh, like not seriously, being full of himself.
Perhaps, but still, we should be cautious.
Yes.
You
I'll
hear
talk to the elders at additional.
you hear a voice going, "Hey, look what I found."
I sigh, knowing this is probably not go well.
One of the foals is running up to what looks to be a collection of other young foals, carrying what looks to be like a badly damaged and rusted weapon.
Well, he's a foal. He needs to learn to fight with it at some point.
The weapon is immediately smacked out of the hand by an elder, and they shake their head. Don't pick stuff like that up. Not here. Not now. The elders look tired from that little exertion of strength. They clearly aren't going to want to travel too much further, but the foals are curious. Would you like to press on?
I think Rolf would probably suggest that you move on at least a few hours from here.
Yeah.
Okay. So you guys press on, and one day rolls into the next as Flurry, as distance is put between yourselves and this city and this bridge. That night, nothing occurs. As you waken the next day, and the herd continue. A few of them, as at the sort of front of the party, they hear you're used to their hooves hitting the mud and the dirt, and then suddenly there's a much louder like clip clop noise as if they just walked onto stone, and a few of them pause and look down, and then there's the sound of something shattering.
Oh. Go have a look, see what's happening exactly.
So you go up. There's you realise that underneath a load of the weeds and grasses that cover most of the terrain here, they've gone from walking on soil to walking on stone. Now, when you have a moment to investigate, you realise there's it's sort of a large circle of stonework that has 4 urns on it, one of which is now shattered and dust spilling out.
Wait here. I go look at the other and see if there's any like inscriptions on them, anything recognizable.
They appear just to be sort of black urns with red patterning on them. Though the lids have like a lilac sigil on the top of them.
Is that sigil in any way familiar to me?
You can roll me a history check, but it's incredibly unlikely given you aren't natively from this plane.
Yeah. 22.
So surprisingly, you can sort of peg what this is. You note, like Furbolg as a society, they don't really care for outsiders.
No.
But you know this has the bearing of what might have once been like a royal sigil, like it's pompous enough to be like that. You don't know much else other than it's this odd, unnatural, like lilac color that doesn't really occur in nature.
Yeah. I take the urn and bring it over to one of the elders, see if they know what it is.
One of the elders pauses, looking at it, and just put it back.
Why?
Because that has the sigil of the Lilac King on it, and put it back.
Who's that?
They were the last king of the country of this place before it was burnt to the ground, and the new kingdom born from it. They called him the Lilac King, but rumors had it that they also called him another name, the Lich King.
I shrug. No idea what that means. So if this is important.
It's something better left undisturbed until somebody has, with the appropriate power, has time to deal with it. There's a note of uncertainty and like, oh shit, in this elder's voice.
So say something was to happen to something similar to this.
The shattered urn is bad enough. We need to keep moving.
Okay. Yep. I go to put it back carefully.
Okay. You put it back where it was. And as you do, you swear that lilac sigil glows with power for just a split second.
All right. Humans.
And the elder encourages the herd to move on.
I sort of stay there, keep an eye on the urn, make sure it doesn't get knocked over.
Mm-hmm. Now they know it's there, the centaur avoid that stone circle like it's the plague. Okay. So, Ashley, do you want to describe a problem now?
Yeah. No problem. Still plains?
Yep, this is still these plains are less hilly, and it's more like it's much more like grassy than the ones you were just in. The plains you've just crossed were like hilly and muddy. These are much more like rolling grassland with like small like hillocks, not even like fully fledged hills.
Okay. Are there like any wild animals around there?
In this area, there are still no wild animals.
Yeah. Okay.
It's odd how few wild animals there are here.
Yeah. What would be a good problem? I am having trouble thinking of something.
If you want, I can give you another in-game day, and I will describe what happens in the night.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, give you a little bit more time to think about it. So as you guys push on, the centaur's avoiding the stone circle like it's the plague. The daylight begins to fade, and it gets darker and darker. You begin to set a camp for the evening when this odd noise, not quite a howl, not quite a shriek, rips through the night. And Flurry, as you glance back, you see roughly where that stone circle was, this odd purple light hanging over it in the form of an individual. From this distance, you can't make out what they are, but they're just a glowing faint light that looks humanoid in shape. And you see from a moment as they turn, and you swear this gets Roth's attention. It pulls their eyes to it as well. And they lift their hand and point at you. And you see two red burning orbs for eyes. He doesn't open his mouth, but you hear a shriek. And then as you blink, the purple figure is just gone.
What was that?
I am unsure. However, did you hear that story your elders were telling?
The Lilac King.
Yeah.
Yes.
That seems bad.
Do I remember anything, like any stories of the Lilac
You can
King?
roll me a history check.
10.
The Lilac King died to Tiamat. But not before invading. He had some serious magic power that no one else expected him to have.
Didn't he died to Tiamat, not out here?
How much do I know about that coming from a slightly different plane?
So your knowledge of the Tiamat War, because you were one step removed from it, it didn't really
Yeah.
affect your home play in the Feywild.
Mm-hmm.
There was some distortion as there was a massive change on the material plane.
Yeah.
So there's an area of the Feywild not far from your Furbolg tribe's territories where essentially they went from being essentially like an incredibly desolate landscape suddenly became verdant and thrived. Trees where there haven't been trees for millennia. Animals flocked from all shapes and sizes. All good beasts and malignant influences all just pulled forth like life just happened. And your people distinctly know that the Feywild is like the inverse reflection of in many ways, of the material plane.
Yeah.
So logically, in that same sort of region, a massive just death must have happened.
Yeah. All right.
So you have a very bad feeling about that.
Yeah. I know that's bad. Yeah. I mean, do you think I should go have a look?
I think you should go alone. I will come with you. I just need to make sure my shift is covered tonight.
Okay.
I go speak to one of the elders and get someone to cover my shift so I can go with.
The elder grudgingly nods and agrees to get someone to cover your shift.
And I pick up my warhammer.
Okay. So do you guys heading back to that stone like circle?
Yeah. I want to see what if I can just see a person, but I'm going to assume no. And then see if there's any like magic traces if I can.
Okay, so when you return there, you notice despite the fact that one of those urns have been shattered, there are 4 whole urns there, rather than 3 that you'd expect, given one of them was shattered.
Ah. That is odd.
And if you're looking for magic, you can roll me an Arcana check.
I've got my special Furbolg magic thing. Does that help me?
I would have to look at what your special Furbolg magic gives you, I'll be honest.
Oh, it just lets me cast Detect Magic.
I mean, that would also work if you want to detect magic.
Yeah, I can do it for free. Sure. I'll cast Detect Magic.
You look at these urns and you suddenly grimace as each one of them blares out quite openly an aura of necrotic magic, of necromancy. And you look at the landscape around you and you see splodges on the ground, seemingly entirely at random, of just necromancy. These, despite it being the night time now and it being dark, these horrible spots of black energy radiating upward are like signal fires in the dark to you now.
Do I also see some of those near where the rest is sleeping?
Surprisingly, actually, you don't, though there are a number of them around them. You note one of them shifts slightly close to you, and you hear the soil shifting and what sounds like scraping as you are looking at it. A creature pulls itself out of the dirt. Flesh partially essentially mummified as if in a bog. As it pulls itself up, its arms are unnaturally long and its fingers end in the most vicious looking claws you've ever seen. And it's slightly hunched forward so you can see the individual vertebrae of its spine. It looks at you and with its rotting face, yellow decaying teeth, it lets out an unholy wail. And it begins to charge in your direction.
Yeah.
I was going to divine sense.
Your undead senses start hurting.
I don't like this place.
It stinks of undead.
Yeah.
Like that fetid, putrid smell of decay rips through your nose, and like you as you tap the inside of your nose, a trickle of blood is running down your lip.
Yeah, I don't like this place.
Yeah. As soon as it comes near me, I'm gonna hit it.
Okay. So I'll leave you guys in the current initiative order.
I'm going to wait for it to come to me.
Yeah, it might. It will. So Hammerford, you're going to hold your action. Essentially, is what I'm hearing. Okay, Flurry, are you also holding your action?
Yeah.
Okay.
I presume we're stood next to each other at this point.
Yes, you're up on the stone steps. For you, Roth, it actually your divine sense like burns, and you look down and like these urns, like they are, as you lean forward to sniff them individually, they smell so putrid it causes you to retch.
I'm wondering whether we destroy the urns.
But this thing hurls itself forward with an upsetting display of speed for a zombie. You've never seen something move this fast when it's undead. It reaches you in a series of unsightly, like rapid strides, and your held actions will be triggered as your attacks can lash out. Roth, you want to go first because you're first in the initiative order.
I will smite one of these.
That hits. That also hits.
I'm just going to put my smite on for the first one. That one.
No, because you get an additional D8 for undead.
I'll roll it separately. And that. So what is that? 20, 32.
You swing once as it charges in. As you see Flurry like about to react, your hammer just like Flurry. You see it glow as it smacks into the zombie the first time. Its momentum basically like causing it to essentially like its feet come up as the hammer meets it going the opposite way as it's like the hammer shoved into its torso. It sort of recoils as it's taken off its feet and it's slammed into the ground of the stone circle and it just doesn't move as you realize that Roth has just caved its chest in a single well-placed strike.
I hate these things.
You hear more scraping and soil being displaced.
What do we do about these?
I think we should warn the others.
You get the impression the camp is already now on massively on alert and people have woken up.
Oh, okay.
But the camp's quite far away, right?
Yeah, but you also just smoked something, which is not exactly subtle, and they had sentries. And now the ground is moving in places. As you realise, not one of these things are stood up now, but 3 of these things are stood up. Then a 4th pulls itself out of the soil.
Uh-huh.
How many more spots of dark magic can I see?
A lot.
A lot. Okay.
To put it into a number is quite difficult from the angle you're looking at. As you glance around you, there's not really very much you can tell. As you get the impression as more of these things arise, like you look down at the stone circles for passing, the stone circle is still on for a passing second. The grasses and weeds have begun to decay, and you see some neat scripture carved into the stonework.
Can I read it?
What languages do you speak?
I speak Common, Elvish, and Giant.
Written in Elvish.
Okay.
Is a simple phrase that says, "Here lie the restless dead, the servants of the Lich King. Trespassers beware."
I think we should go.
I don't think this will solve.
As you're considering it, you watch as you're going to run out of as we move on to Hammerfall's turn. The last vestiges of sunlight truly disappear from the horizon, and the urns begin to shudder slightly on the stone circle. Hammerfall.
I mean, we can try leaving. Or do you think if we were to smash the urns, it would let them lie? I think what controls it. I am uneasy. I don't know this magic. He'll kind of look to Flurry.
Yeah, it seems
You guys don't have long to keep talking before Hammerfall's turn is over.
bad.
Technically, you get 6 seconds of conversation. I'm being generous. These
We
urns
should go.
continue to shake increasingly violently as the turn passes.
Hammerfall will start to. He'll kind of move in time with Flurry.
Mhm.
And as they leave.
So you are making a dash for the camp.
Yeah.
He wouldn't go that far.
Well, the camp is now clearly awake and alert, and a few arrows rip out to hit a few of these things that are waking up around, not particularly close to the camp, but close enough they're like, yeah, we should probably warn these things off.
Hammerfall would go to like the edge of where those were
Mhm.
and turn around and stop. Because you'd want to see them if they come towards.
These creatures. So I'm assuming Flora, you'll also move with them.
Yeah.
Okay. These creatures stand like they pull themselves, having pulled themselves out of the soil. They begin just charging mindlessly in your direction, screeching these horrible war cries into the night sky.
Yeah. Hammerfall.
They aren't gonna you guys move a lot faster than them. They're even with these big things being fast. You guys both have a base movement speed like 40 for Christ's sake. They can't keep up with you. The other centaurs have pulled themselves out of bed. The ones who are capable of archery and of melee combat have grabbed weapons and are like, essentially you can tell by the way they formed themselves, they're getting ready to delay until they can run. The young ones and those who are too infirm to fight are gathering supplies. Like they've gone for food and water first. Tents they can replace at some other time and aren't overtly necessary. Things they could do without, they're ignoring until they've picked up as much food and water as they can carry.
So Hammerfall will hold an outer line to protect.
Yeah.
So you're both going to form up with the centaurs who are basically preparing to defend the area.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think he'd probably head up a little bit closer to the bad guys than they do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you stop a little bit ahead of the line, basically.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Cool. Florida, do you do the same?
Yeah.
Okay, so you both slide forward and you slide about 10 feet ahead of them and come to a stop, both turning around now to prepare to face these enemies. These things are hot on your heels. They are 5 feet behind you. They're now 10 feet behind you. They don't double move to get to you, but they stop. Like their turn essentially ends, and they are 10 feet from you, snarling. And there's like 6, 7, 8 of them now. You see more pulling themselves out of the ground. Like there's a moment of pause now. If you both free history checks.
Ooh, that is a 20.
Mine's an 11.
Roth, you have the horrible realization that this particular part of the plains was a place where there was a battle between the cult's army in favor of Tiamat and the army of those forces loyal to the Lich King prior to his destruction. This battlefield is littered with the unquiet undead. There's an army in the soil.
I think there'll be too many. We need a different
Yes. But
Would we think that destroying the urns would break the magic?
You will roll me an intelligence check because that doesn't sit rightly under any skill, and you're not sure. One of these, a different undead, floated above these urns previously and screeched at you. You're not sure if it's a control thing or a because we pissed off something else. It's now activated these guys.
Mm-hmm. Well, do I think like the behind me is also still part of the battlefield?
You don't know how large the battlefield is. You have no way of knowing.
The great battle was fought here. What is it? How large the field is, I do not know.
Your primary concern is, did a dragon die here?
Oh, I fucking hope not.
good point.
Claire, you're running out of your turn.
I think that he'll probably hold any action for things running at him.
Okay.
Or running at the line.
Okay. Flurry.
Yeah. Probably the same. I don't think we can do much else at the moment.
Okay.
Except just run. Yeah.
So you're holding your action essentially to fight these things so they go into threat range. Okay, so 4 of these things surge forward and stop in front of you. They will trigger your held action as they will come out to attack you. The 4 others that you had noted, they storm past you outside of your threat range to go toward the line. One immediately takes an arrow to the head and staggers but doesn't stop as it continues to run.
Arrow. Hammer time.
Okay. So Roth, all your attacks go into one of them?
No, because you said 2 came at him, so he'll go 1 and then the other.
Okay.
11.
Hits.
13.
Hits.
So it's 12 on 1, and then 9 on the second.
Okay. There's 2 crunches, but they're not fussed by them. I'll deal with the 2 that attack Roth first, and then we'll move on to Astrid, so it keeps it nice and segmented and clear. Okay, Roth, the 2 that are going to attack you. The first one, 10 and a 23.
23 with it.
Okay, I'm going to change these to whisper rolls so that they actually can't see their rolls. That'd be great. You take 7 points of slashing damage.
Yep.
Okay. From the first one. The second one that attacks you. What's your AC?
18.
The other 2, the claws scrape off your armor. Flurry.
Yeah.
Are you going to launch a 1 attack into each, or are you going to hit all your attacks on 1?
I'm gonna do.
You also have flurry of blows and everything.
Yeah, I'm gonna do 1 quarterstaff attack on each, and then a flurry of blows on one of them.
Okay, so you can do attack, bonus action, attack, which is your first. If you then do flurry of blows, you then get a second attack. So you spend the key point, you get that bonus attack, if that makes sense.
So it's quarterstaff, unarmed.
Yeah, that's essentially as part of your standard action. If you then pay the key point for flurry of blows, you then get an additional unarmed attack.
Then I'll do that.
So you can do quarterstaff melee, quarterstaff fist, essentially.
Okay. Then I'll do.
Do you want to break it up like that for me so I can assign one? Okay.
Quarterstaff fist.
Both will hit. Okay.
That's 1. And then the other one.
Both of those will hit. So you'll, and then they will attack you as they're going to range. They both have 2 attacks as well. What is your AC, please?
16.
Okay, you take 3 attacks as they rolled a 10, a 16, a 16, and an 18.
Can I impose disadvantage on one of them using my fighting style?
It would have to be the first one, wouldn't it?
It doesn't say, but yes,
Okay,
you would do it.
so on
first
one of them.
Yeah.
So on the first one will miss. I'll keep the damage where I rolled for it.
I'm helping. That's my reaction.
You take 11 points of slashing damage from the 2 claws that rake into you. One from one of them. No, actually. So the first one misses for first strike. The second strike is going to hit. And then you see Roth lean over and basically smack it with one of his hind legs. And the second one, just as you're kind of perturbed as the fact your friend is just basically hoof checks this guy. The second one just scrape across your skin with its 2 sets of claws. They hurt.
Yeah.
Okay, that'll take us around to Hammerfall's turn.
I'm smacking at these things in front of me.
Okay, you attacking both of them with the
Same as before.
Same as before.
25 and
They will both hit.
wow.
It's a zombie. What did you think it was going to do?
13 and 6.
25. Okay, yep. The one that you hit first both times looks like that really sucked, but it is still upright.
Mm-hmm.
The second one looks less put out by the damage that it's taken. Okay, and that'll take us around to Flurry. I'm assuming you don't move, sorry. Claire's not listening to me.
No, I was sticking.
Okay, sorry, I realised that I didn't even give her the chance to say there's your attacks. Done.
I will do the same thing again.
Okay, so you spend another key point.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they'll both hit.
That's 17 on the one. And with the key points, it's another 17.
So the one you've hit first both times now looks like on the very brink of just like giving up on existence now. Like its bones are broken. The second one, 6 is 14. Also looks sufficiently like tenderized that it's still just keeping itself on its feet. You hear screeches of pain from both undead mouths and the agonized cries of centaurs in pain behind you guys. But these things will now launch into you guys again. Roth, you first. Okay. 2 attacks will hit you.
Okay.
For a total of 11 damage. And Flurry. What is your AC, please?
16.
16. You take 1 hit for 6. These things are snarling at you, and they clearly have now got a taste of your blood as they've swiped through both of you. You know they almost oddly lick their claws clean since they've cut you.
Ew.
Yep. Hammerfall. Roth, what say you?
I say smashy, smash, smash, smash.
Okay.
I will smite the second one, but I'm going to hit them in the same order.
So, yep, okay, fair.
That's 20. So 8 damage for the first one.
You hit it and its head just rips from its shoulders and it just like crumples to the ground.
And the second one.
This one is pulled off its feet and it begins disintegrating as this radiant energy begins ripping through it. Conveniently, Roth doesn't spot the radiant energy ripping it. He just sees it hit the ground and begin twitching before it just falls apart.
He gets just really mad.
Yeah.
And then he'll turn his head to see what's going on behind him.
You see behind you a centaur with a horrible gash down its flank. But these things are almost like 2 of them are down, and the other 2, one of them is on the centaur with the gashes like back, like trying to lash at it, and 2 other centaurs are trying to pull it off, like restrain it and bring it down.
I would like to use my inspiring smite.
That's a bonus action.
Temporary hit points.
So you have to make an attack.
Yeah, but I've immediately after you've dealt damage.
Yeah, so you have to deal damage first. But you haven't got damage to it.
No. As soon as I damage a creature, I can give temporary hit points to others.
Yeah, but
immediately after you deal damage to a creature with your divine smite, which I've just done.
Right. Okay. Because you didn't do it immediately. I assumed it would be. This thing is, in order to be aware that you should do that, you have to somehow acknowledge that situation, which is then not immediately after you've cast it.
Come on. It's literally within the 6 seconds, though, Ross.
Okay, I'll give it to you, but this is the point.
This is my bonus action.
Yeah, no, I know, but you wouldn't have known to do it on the smite.
But he doesn't know he's doing it anyway.
I know, you channel divinity should be not an instinctual thing. It should be something you chose to do.
Well, he wants them to feel better.
Okay, they're bolstered slightly, but you get the impression that's probably not going to help them very much.
I'll give 5 hit points to them, and split 3 between me and.
That's temporary hit points, not permanent hit points, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you two
you
both
get 3 hit points, basically.
3 temporary hit points.
Yes.
Okay. Flurry.
I'm just gonna hit the one that looks closest to death. Let's start with that.
They both look like that sucked.
Yeah, the first one.
Okay. You hit.
Cool. Do I have to do my unarmed attack on the same one, or can that be on the other
No,
one?
you could do both your quarter staff attacks and then choose which one to put the unarmed attack on.
Okay.
Because you wanted to do them bulk, it was easier for me if I had it quarter staff unarmed, so I could do them both for one and then move on to the next guy. But if you're both if you want to hit 1-1 and then tell me where the unarmed's going, I can do that as well.
Yeah. So
your quarterstaff swings out, smacks straight into this thing's shoulders, and you hear the crunch as it's you watch where the collarbones are and where they meet the sternum just crumple inward under the force of your attack. This creature makes a gurgling sound of pain and staggers before just crumpling into the dirt.
okay. Then the other one, which will get the unarmed attack as well.
You need to roll me damage. It goes down. You hit both times, minimum damage. It goes down as well. Your fist just smacks into its nose, and you just feel the whole face give way.
And then I want to sort of fall back with the rest of the line of centaurs.
Okay. As you look around, you realize the line of centaurs are still fighting. 2 of the creatures have gone down. One of them is on the back of another centaur, and the lion is essentially trying to pull this creature that's trying to eat their friend off its back. And there's one more that is essentially going toe to toe with a centaur that's holding a great sword. They're not martially inclined, but because they're big, they can hold big weapons. So, as you fall back to their line, you see the centaur with the big sword make a big swing, and you see this creature just get cleaved in half by it. They pull down the next one off of their peer's back, and beneath hoof they are crushed to death, or re-death, full death, final death, something along those lines. Before several of the clearly more experienced centaurs are shouting for it to fall back because they're running essentially. They're not trying to hold this; they're just going to run.
Yeah.
You guys can hear more snarling and more screeching as you get the impression more of these things are rising behind you and further up into the battlefield. Your herd is on the retreat. Do you join them, or do you try and hold this?
I think Roth would try and hold the back line, but he'd be retreating.
Yeah.
Because he wouldn't want to put, in case there was a problem with the retreat, wouldn't want to put too much.
You guys know full well you can outrun them.
Yeah.
You know that from experience in the 6 seconds of running. You know you can outrun them by a significant speed.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we'd stay in the back just to be safe, just in case like somebody trips or whatever.
Yep.
So we can hold a defensive line whilst they move off.
Yeah.
Okay. So you guys run. On hoof and foot, you leave the battlefield with all due haste.
Mm-hmm. I'd grab anything like our packs as we move as well.
Yeah. As you glance back as you're running, the only thing you can see is the fact that this battlefield is clearly not a sparsely populated one. More and more of these things are rising. Like, they are before what can be described as a pack. As you guys are running, more and more of them cluster together. You count 20 to 30 of them. And jumped up on the adrenaline, most of the herd just keep going until the sun comes up. Because they can still hear these things howling in the distance. As the sun comes up, you just watch as they just disappear.
When you say disappear,
You as you're running, you can't really tell. You stop being able to hear them.
I'd probably stop and turn and look.
You can't see them anymore.
I'd probably wait, let the herd run on.
The herd runs on before it's oddly quiet. They keep running for a good 5 minutes, but then they start stopping as well. As they look around, and there's just nothing. It's just quiet. And as you're looking back over the herd, you can see just peeking over the horizon what appears to be a dense forest. This forest, you'd note, is one of the final landmarks before the great city. As this forest you had to pass through.
Well, that's something.
Do you catch back up with the herd?
Yeah, I would eventually.
Okay.
They have
So
stopped. As far as I can see.
You guys know the herd is exhausted. They're tired. They've been running all night. It looks like what's going to have to happen now is what the elders are explaining, is that these things probably can only move through the darkness. They can't stand the sunlight. So it may become the party has a rest by day and run by night. And again, as you guys go back into this sort of traveling, essentially the dial flips. When the sun is up, you're finding that sleep, and when the night comes, as soon as the sun hits that horizon, you begin hearing these sick undead howls, screeches and yips of the hunt. As you've traded one thing you're running from to another, you keep running, and the herd hits the forest surprisingly quickly, and in the darkness of the forest, you come to a horrible realization that indeed these things aren't going to stop in this forest because there's enough shade they don't have to. So the herd just keeps running and just keeps running. And everyone, unfortunately, it's going to gain a level of exhaustion as you just have to keep running. But you break through the tree line toward the middle of the night, and you can see a huge walled city in the like less than a few hundred yards away from you now. You couldn't see through the dense tree line. Fires lit across its walls. Torches, people moving. Life. You can see life in the stone walls. You hear a horn go up as you guys just keep running forward, and you realize as you see these lit arrows flying over you guys and hitting the undead as the gates open as you guys are charging forward, and a figure walks out slowly and weapon drawn, and you hear them bellow into the city.
I feel like Roth is the last. Like he would keep that back protective line.
You hear into the city. Tankra, make them comfortable. Stein, throw it. And
I think Roth would stop and not enter the city and watch.
Flurry, do you do the same?
Yeah.
You
Like, I'm just curious.
You hear the creaking of stonework as you guys stop next to this creature. The being that has walked through the gate, weapon drawn, unperturbed by the horde of undead chasing you guys, is a 9.5 foot tall dragonborn with snow white scales. His armor is gunmetal grey, but the symbols across his armor, easily recognizable as religious iconography, glow with a radiant light that runs all the way down his right arm into the great sword he has held relaxed in one hand. She draws up as these things get increasingly close, and you just hear him go, Stein, whenever you're ready. And you see a large creature vault these hugely tall stone walls and land with an earth-shaking thud as you see a piece of what can only be described as essentially like a chunk of a building is hurled into this group of undead. You see them thrown every which direction under sickening crunches. This giant of a figure brings a club round and sweeps it, crushing another number of these things. The Dragonborn looks at both of you. The Furbolg, Flurry, you have never seen a Dragonborn before.
No.
Roth, you've heard of Dragonborn. They're not particularly common, but you can identify this type of creature. You had heard rumors that the king of this land that's being reborn is a Dragonborn. And as four of these remaining creatures hurtle towards you at all speed, you just see the Dragonborn. You two look exhausted.
Yeah.
He seems entirely unperturbed by the creatures running towards him. If you'll just bear with me a moment, I will make sure that if you head inside the city, my compatriot, subordinate Takra, will make sure your people are comforted and housed appropriately.
I will hold this line.
The Dragonborn chuckles that it's already held. He takes 2 steps forward and just swings this great sword, and it glows this vibrant gold as it just cleaves through with one strike through one of these creatures, cutting it in half with an upsetting ease. You see this creature then let go of the blade in mid-swing, catch it with his offhand, and essentially, as if he's holding it in like an ice pick grip, like the wrong way, cleave through the next one, and then essentially Spartan kicks the last one into the other one. You hear a crunch as you note this thing's ribcage crumples as it's projected into its last one, which hits the ground. You say, Stein, step on it. And this giant just steps on these last 2 undead. And you just hear the last whimpers of this thing's unlife being ended by the weight of a giant. Don't worry. We learn to deal with these things. And, sometimes you just got to put your foot down.
I didn't recognize it as a pun.
That was a joke. Right.
That's what that is.
You're probably not from a joking herd, are you? I suppose, Centaur. My apologies.
I look confused.
And a Furbolg. We don't often see those in these parts. I think I've met one of your kin maybe once in my long life, or previous life. Regardless. Welcome to Widcon.
Thank you. Sir?
Yes, sorry. Introductions. Oh, I hate this bit. I am King Athelthrad, the first of my name.
I'm Flurry.
Nice to meet you. I imagine you punch quite quickly too. Is that where the name comes from, given your kin? He looks at the centaur who nods. Right, yes, fair enough. Cultural thing, I assume. Wonderful. Sterling. The Dragonborn just lets go of his sword and it just floats in the air for a second. Perfect. Before it just seems to disappear into like little flatters of light. Perfect. He puts his hand on Flurry's shoulder and the armored gauntlet that's still got gold pats Roth essentially on the arm as you both healed for about 5 hit points each. Good. I'm glad to meet you both. I trust you're protectors of the herd.
Yes.
Good. You had the look about you. So, he says, leading you into the city. As you can see, Takra, he gestures to a... Takra's got blue skin, isn't he? Is he blue?
No,
It's not?
it's a wood elf.
It's a wood elf. Okay, cool, fair. I forget. Some of them are blue.
No, they're
Shucks.
not.
Gestures to a wood elf who's talking with some of the elders. Takra, essentially my steward, my right hand.
I look at his right hand.
It's a metaphor. It's not literal. We'll see your people housed appropriately. We wouldn't
They're
offend
open
you.
areas.
We have a couple of parks we're developing, nice, green, and open. But I like the look of you two. If you seat your people and settle in, Takara will be in touch. That's again a metaphor for being in communication.
I nod.
Liaise with your people. I will certainly come by. So, he rubs his hands together. Welcome to Windcarn. Sorry you've been displaced from your home. We'll make the best of the situation. Though if you are interested, or you get bored because you look like the actiony type, I might have a job for you two. Regardless, that's a talk for another day. Get settled with your people, get some rest, and we can talk in the morning once you've been fed and watered. I live, he gestures up to a castle that's like on the hill, like on a mount, like on a mountain that pulls out of the center of the city. In there, by all means, Haley should let you in if you come knocking. Tell her I've asked for you to come tomorrow once you've had your breakfast.
Who is this Haley?
She's the captain of the guard. Please don't piss her off.
God.
Yes.
Is that like protector?
Yes, they enforce the laws.
He nods.
And trust me, if you break the rules, bad things will happen.
I have no need to break laws.
Good, then we shan't have any problems. Now, I believe they're just putting up some tents or some temporary homes for your people. And you might want to go and reserve one for yourselves or two, depending on whether or not you guys share space. I don't know. I'm not judging. The large dragonborn sort of just shrugs. Regardless, sleep well. Sleep off that exhaustion. You look so tired. And once you've had a good meal, some water, we can talk. All right?
All right.
Well, good night to you both.
Good night.
And the dragonborn plods off in a different direction, this large giant following behind him with like each thud causing the ground to like reverberate slightly. The wood elf has directed your herd into what can be described as a park. There's some nice trees set up. There's nice open spaces still. There's a water feature. But they put up like tents and other bits and pieces, so it's like a herd camp, but not inside the city. Like it's like having a camp, like a camping trip in Central Park in New York. Like it's very clearly still in the city, but also when you're in the middle of this park, it's like, nature. You hear a couple of people who whisper as you walk past. One of them goes, hopefully none of the druids come to visit while they're here. That might scare them. A random elf popping out of a tree.
Why do elves pop out of trees?
Because magic is the response you get.
I just roll my eyes. Ugh.
Mm.
We should speak with the elders, see if they are okay with this.
Yes.
Taking job from scary white tall thing.
What is
Dragonborn.
wrong with his dragon?
They call him Dragonborn.
Are they dangerous?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think they're like elves, but like dragons.
Okay. Should be okay then. As long as he doesn't hop out of any trees.
That's strange custom. I'm just shaking my head.
I do not like it, no.
You guys are, just by virtue of following the other centaurs, essentially given you're given a pair of tents essentially, so you have your own places to sleep. You're told that breakfast is they'll provide a basic meal for everyone because you've lost a number of your food supplies in the run, but they can't stretch to much more than that. Anything else you also either have to trade or pay for. They say that depending on how long you intend to stay, certain skills are valued and you can earn coin. They basically explain how their economy works to you in a few terms, like do work, get paid to buy food and stuff like that, or trade items you make, etc., etc. For the two of you, the wood elf gives you directions up to the castle for the morning. The elders are already Sparko. They are asleep in their tents. Like, this was not good for a lot of the elders. This level of exhaustion is probably significantly more dangerous for them than anybody else. But as soon as you're assigned your own tents, like, you can just walk into them and it's a safe space. You're no longer being chased.
I'd probably take a tent on the edge.
Go figure. Living on the edge.
Well, that's kind of his thing.
Do you pick the tent that's like closest to the city, like between the city and like the biggest city district and everyone else?
Yes.
Fair enough. Flurry, I'm supposing you're going to stick close to Roth.
Yeah.
And as you guys settle down to sleep off this rather harrowing experience, being pursued through every night by a fleet of undead, we shall call this session to a close as you've made it to the safety of Windcarn.